This past year has been the hardest year of my life. I lost things this year that I never in a million years thought I would ever lose. Major parts of my identity. And as I was losing all of these things one by one, I started to recognize a pattern emerging, or a lesson, I guess, that 2023 was trying to teach me. And I guess it was a lesson that was long overdue for me, just given how intensely I had to learn it. Because this shit was crazy. The lesson that I'm talking about is letting go. Learning how to let go. That's what I learned in 2023. And I had to learn it in the hardest way possible. I'm the kind of guy where if I like something, I really like something, then I bring it into myself. I make it part of my identity. I love hard. I love really, really hard. And so for me, letting go of things is always, I'm not good at goodbyes. I'm really not. Everything I've ever had to let go of in my life has claw marks on it. There were 3 things I had to let go of this year that nearly broke me. In 1 year, I lost my dream, my passion, and my love. Ever since I was a little kid, my dream was to play in the NBA. I wanted to be a basketball player. That was everything to me since I was very young. And I would spend hours training for it, grinding and working out and making sacrifices, not going to that party, not hanging out with my friends that day. It was an obsession, really. It was all I would think about. I have, notebooks filled with, ideas and concepts and different cuts and, workout plans. I loved it. It was my dream. It was everything I wanted. The vision of the future I had, where I was, fulfilling it, that was worth more to me than anything. And so I went after my dream. I chased it. I chased it as hard as I could. I really did. But after a while, things just weren't working. And after getting embarrassed and humiliated and not making the team and getting cut from the team, or all these things happening to me, and all my hard work just seeming to not really pay off, it got to a point where I started to lose a little bit of love for it. I started to lose a little bit of the love I had for this game that was everything to me for so long. But I didn't want to admit that to myself. The concept of living life without this thing that I loved so much, it gave me panic attacks just thinking about it, honestly. Because if I couldn't have this, then what could I have? What does my life look like without basketball? Does it even exist? Does it matter at all? Who am I without this? Those were the thoughts that were running through my head. But I kept losing and failing and falling further and further away from the game until it got to a point where I knew deep down that I had to give it up. I had to let it go. And it was really hard. It was really, really difficult, I'm not gonna lie. The only thing that made it easier was the fact that it was around this time where, something new came into my life. Usually when you let something go, you make room for something else to come in. That's what I learned. And that's what happened. It was around this time during the year where I started to work on my car. I started to get into cars and, engines and DIY stuff. And it became my passion. It was a big source of joy, big source of satisfaction for me to work on my car. I had a 2006 Acura RL, and if you saw it driving down the street, most people would probably think it was just a shit box that nobody cared about. But it was missing a bumper. It was the body was scratched up and damaged. The paint was faded. But I didn't care, man. I didn't care at all. I loved that thing like you wouldn't believe. I loved that thing. And I cared for that thing as best as I could. And I had plans, list of notes in my phone for, what I was going to do to it, and the mods I was going to make, and the upgrades and repairs. And I was working my way down. I really was. I was working my way down. I learned how to drive in that car. It was my first car. I learned how to work on cars with that car. And I was on the last step. I was on the very last step of my list that I had for the car. Because the plan was I was going to upgrade or do all the repairs I had to do to the engine and the mechanical side of things. And then after that was done, I'll go into cosmetics and make it look cool and be the guy with, the teenager with the cool car. That was what I was going to do. That was the future that I had envisioned. And I was on the last step. And I had actually completed the last step, and I was driving it around, enjoying my work. And then I got rear-ended. Car's totaled. And so just like that, I had to let go of my passion. I held on to it for a while. It sat outside my house. And I had planned to come back to it one day and when I had the money, but I had been down this road before where it's like you have to let go of it, but you hold on to it. You hold on to that hope that one day it'll come back. So this time I was a little more aware that, realistically, I'm never going to drive this car again. But it sat outside, and it sat outside, and it sat until one day, the city came and towed it away. It was gone forever. The last thing I had to let go of this year is my love. This one sucked the most. I met my girlfriend in physics class during our freshman year in high school. And we were friends. We talked every now and then. But we didn't really, talk like that until years later when we were juniors. And our paths crossed again. And we decided to give this thing a shot. And so we started dating and seeing each other more and more until one day, I looked up and realized that this was my best friend. That this girl meant more to me than anyone else. And I knew that to her it was the same feeling. We had a love that I can't even describe, man. She was my first love. And I loved every moment I got to spend with her. I really did, God. It was such a privilege being with her. We had some great years together until this past year, 2023, where all this stuff was going on and I was losing things and, I was broke, unemployed, and I couldn't get a job, couldn't find a job, nobody was hiring me. But she was sticking it out because that's the type of person she is. She's a trooper. But it was me that was the problem. I was starting to, my ego was getting broken, shattered piece by piece. My identity was being torn apart. My insecurities were starting to show. And I didn't mean to, but I started to take it out on her. And it got to a point where we had to take a break for a week or two. And then we came back and, things were strong again. But then we went on break again. And this time it feels a little different. And, just judging, I don't want to be too quick to say things are completely over, but judging from the pattern I've seen, it seems like it. And so I have to let her go too. It's such a strange feeling, life is. These lessons that we learn, usually the hard way, they stick with you. And, through these lessons, you find out who you are. You find out what you're made of, your character. And I know if I was a lesser man, I would have every reason to become bitter towards life. No one would blame me. No one would blame me if I locked my heart back down after it getting pushed around and beat up so much. No one would blame me if I became angry and resentful. It would be too easy. It would be easy for me to become like that. But I've learned that that's not the person that I am. It's not in me to do that. I'm stronger than I think I am. And when I love fully. I love hard. And that's a very vulnerable and dangerous place to put myself, but I don't care because that's how I am. And I'll never stop doing that. I'll never stop caring. Even if it hurts me in the end. Because when I look back at these things, at these moments, at these experiences I've had with, basketball or my car or my girlfriend, I don't become depressed that it's gone. I'm happy that it happened. I'm grateful that it happened. When I think back on these things, I just smile. because they are the best, softest, warmest memories I have. And, as much as it hurts to let these things go, you have to. There's a saying, if you really love something, you'll let it go. But, it's still hard. I'm not going to lie to you. I know I'm making it seem like this was real, a real philosophical thing, and I just meditated for a little bit and it was easy, but it wasn't. It really wasn't. You're not just letting go of a thing, you're letting go of a future that you envisioned. You're letting go of a future. Whenever you let a person go, whenever you let a person leave your life, or let a dream or passion leave your life, you're letting go of a future that you had with it. And that fucking hurts. But here's the thing. If you really loved it fully, you've kind of already lived that future. You've kind of already lived it. All these things, these three things that I mentioned that I lost, I love them so much that it felt like I had already spent years with them. And for you, maybe you can relate to this stuff. Maybe there's something you've had to let go of. Maybe this year, or maybe it will come in the coming years, and maybe you'll turn this video on and see me going through this. And maybe you'll be able to relate. Maybe it'll be cathartic for you. All I have to say is, don't let it break you. You're stronger than you think. And good times will come. If good times were able to come to your life, they'll surely come around again. But don't become bitter. Don't lock your heart down because you're scared to love. Just know that it's gonna hurt, and yeah, you're gonna be wounded for a little while. But wounds heal eventually. Wounds do heal. But just know that it will leave a scar. That scar will be there forever, always. And it just depends on how you view it. How do you view that scar? I have a lot of scars, but I view them with love, always. And that's how it is. Scars will never leave. They stay. But in my eyes, all scars is just proof that you lived. So keep on living.